Thank you. I'll ask you all to begin to settle down. Thank you. We're happy to see you in the room and we'll get started. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the city's public webcast and meeting materials web page. Tonight's meeting will include a public comment period. If you wish to speak during the comment period and have not already done so, please fill out a request to speak form available on our public webcast and meeting materials webpage, or fill out one of the printed forms available at the entrance to this room. We'll accept requests to speak forms until 7:35. These forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and to correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. And for those of you who are joining the meeting remotely, you are welcome to email your comments to council. And as a reminder, our meeting rules of conduct include no flags, signs, loud or disruptive language, noise, or conduct that obstructs the business of council. We are looking to create a safe space, a quiet room where everyone can be heard and feels comfortable making their comments. And you are always welcome to support them with waving your fingers quietly. And then it's not a big crowd, but if you're not feeling well, we prefer that you not come in person. And if you have been exposed, that we do have masks in the back if you're feeling that you're sitting too close to someone. So with that, I call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with a land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. This land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and of honoring Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as Kalapuya Ilahi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. And today, in recognition of Memorial Day, we will open tonight's meeting with a pledge of allegiance. And we are joined by Alan Brown, the City of Eugene Park Ambassador with Parks and Open Space, who has proudly served in the U.S. Army for 22 years and has served all over the United States and overseas, but spent most of his time with the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I would invite Alan to step forward and lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you for your service.
Thanks, Alan.
And we have a number of other ceremonial matters this evening. I have 3 proclamations to share, so we'll just work our way through those, all for quite different things. The first is Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas May marks Mental Health Awareness Month, dedicated to supporting individuals with mental health challenges and combating stigma worldwide. It's a month that unites us in empathy and action, inspiring hope and fostering positive change for all affected. And whereas since 1949, Mental Health America, its affiliates, and countless others have observed May as Mental Health Awareness Month by reaching out to millions of people to spread the word that mental health is something everyone should care about. The 2024 theme is Where to start? Mental health in a changing world. Highlighting the challenges faced in a constantly evolving world where pressures from work, relationships, and societal factors can significantly impact our mental well-being. It encourages us to take action, build coping skills, and advocate for improved mental health in our communities. And whereas even before the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of Americans were experiencing stress, trauma, anxiety, and heightened levels of depression. The pandemic has magnified those conditions, creating an unprecedented mental health crisis across the United States. Fewer than half of Americans who struggle with mental illness receive the treatment they need. Many Americans feel ashamed to reach out for help or are stigmatized for seeking care. And the Fair Housing Act, as amended, and other federal laws ensure all individuals receive equal treatment. I think that was a mistake. Whereas each of us has an important role to play in supporting others who are living with mental health conditions. We can learn the warning signs, engage affected loved ones in a supportive dialogue, and fight the stigma and prejudice around seeking mental health support. Let us collectively ensure all adults and children experiencing mental health challenges are treated with the compassion, respect, and understanding they deserve. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 2024 to be Mental Health Awareness Month in Eugene, Oregon, and encourage all community members to join in activities and take action to strengthen the mental and behavioral health of all of our community members. Second proclamation is in recognition of Public Works Week. Whereas since 1960, the American Public Works Association, APWA, has observed an annual National Public Works Week to recognize the public works professionals who focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the public health, quality of life, and well-being of the people of Eugene. And whereas this year's Public Works theme, Advancing Quality of Life for All, recognizes how public works contributes to advancing and enhancing our quality of life for all Eugenians. And whereas each day residents depend on public works for streets that are safe for people walking, biking, rolling, taking transit, and driving, effective stormwater management to reduce flooding and pollution of our natural waterways, well-maintained parks and open spaces to support and enhance our quality of life, our safe and affordable Eugene Airport, which provides a gateway to our country, and efficient wastewater collection and treatment to keep our community clean and sanitary. And whereas the continued delivery of these vital services in Eugene would not be possible without the dedication and tireless efforts of hundreds of public works professionals, engineers, and administrators across the city of Eugene. And whereas the city of Eugene is pleased to join in the celebration of National Public Works Week as a tribute to the hardworking staff that make Eugene one of the best places in the nation to live, work, play, and raise a family, and to increase public awareness about the important role that public works has in our community. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, do hereby proclaim May 19th to 25th, 2024 to be Public Works Week. And the third proclamation is in recognition of the World Day of Cultural Diversity. Whereas in 2001, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, adopted the Universal Declaration of Cultural Diversity. In December 2002, the UN General Assembly declared May 21st to be the World Day of Cultural Diversity. And whereas the observance of this day provides us with an opportunity to deepen our understanding of the values of cultural diversity and to advance 4 goals. 1, support sustainable systems of governance for culture. 2, achieved a balanced flow of cultural goods and services and increased mobility of arts and cultural professionals. 3, integrate culture in sustainable development frameworks. And 4, promote human rights and fundamental freedoms. And whereas in September 2022, culture was affirmed as a global public good at the largest world conference devoted to culture. The adopted Declaration for Culture defines a set of cultural rights that need to be considered in public policies, such as social and economic rights of artists, rights of indigenous communities to safeguard their ancestral knowledge, and both the protection and promotion of cultural and natural heritage. And whereas much of the world's major conflicts have a cultural dimension, bridging the gap between cultures is urgent and necessary for peace, stability, and development. Cultural diversity is a driving force of development, not only with respect to economic growth, but also as a means of leading a more fulfilling intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual life. Cultural diversity is an asset that is indispensable for poverty reduction and the achievement of sustainable development. And whereas the city of Eugene strives to break down barriers, seen or unseen, that can hinder cultural diversity, especially through its Cultural Services Division, Intergovernmental Tribal Relations work, and Office of Equity and Community Engagement, the city continues to make efforts to promote a sense of belonging by all community members. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Venus, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 21st, 2024 to be World Day of Cultural Diversity in Eugene, and encourage all people to work together to foster a more diverse and welcoming environment for people of all cultures. Thank you. And with that, we will turn to committee reports on items of interest. So I have Councilor Groves first.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we last met, I've had a chance to attend a number of events, but two that I really want to call out. Saturday, May 4th, Beyond Toxics hosted an event at Golden Gardens Park. They called it Birds, Bees, and Turtles, Oh My. And it was an educational opportunity to slog through this beautiful area, and it was wet. But what really impressed me were all the kids that were out there, the youth, that were taking this seriously and trying to learn more about it and engage with each other. And we took tours looking around at the turtle habitat, and it was just a remarkable event. There were specialists there from the Audubon Society and some other nonprofits that are working for the betterment of our community. And I just thought it was a tremendous activity, and it's been a lot of years since I've actually walked around in that area. So thank you to Beyond Toxics. Also ABC, Active Bethel Community was out there with Lynn Rudrich, who's one of the co-chairs, and it was a great event. The second event I want to call out occurred on this last Wednesday, and it was the Churchill Area Neighborhood Association. And they held an emergency planning workshop, which was fantastic. The city's emergency manager was there, our fire department's wildland fuels reduction specialist was there, and we talked a lot about escape routes and evacuation, something that's near and dear to my heart, being a former firefighter in this community and a former chief. I thought it was really well done, and it's a model that I hope gets replicated in other neighborhood associations, especially those in the South Hills, that has periods of time during the year where there are extreme fire risk, although fires can happen anywhere. And we were talking about fireworks a little earlier, and quite frankly, most of the fires I've seen started by fireworks have been in the flats. So I don't know what that means. It's just that's my recollection, where most of the ones that I saw started during my days. So anyway, I wanted to share that and thank CAN, Beyond Toxics, and ABC for their work to constantly trying to better our community.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Ye.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to update council on a grant that received by the Metropolitan Wastewater Management Commissioner. I haven't received the money yet, but will be coming, which has, I think, been in the news, so you might have already heard, but we received a $4 million grant for our Class A recycled water project from the U.S. Department of the Interior's Water Smart Drought Response Program. The project involves upgrading existing infrastructure for water filtering, disinfectant storage, and conveyance to deliver about 1.3 million gallons of Class A recycled water per day for public works and industrial uses. So very exciting.
Right. That is great. That is great. Other councilors with updates? Councilor Keating.
Thanks, Mayor. I don't know if you heard about it, but El Rapa, the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency, our board of directors recently nominated and approved unanimously Travis Knutson as El Rapa's new executive director. So I congratulate Travis on his appointment. Travis Knutson previously served as El Rapa's public affairs manager for the past 5 years. And you may remember seeing Travis as a meteorologist on TV. And so the agency is in really capable hands, and congrats to Travis Knutson. On May the 4th, I did not go see the turtles and slog through the swamps of Dagobah. Rather, I went to the Eugene Public Library's Out of This World Intergalactic Gala alongside the mayor. And just to indicate how much I love the library, Becca and I were torn between, it wasn't a choice for her, but I was torn between the symphony, the Star Wars themed symphony on May the 4th, or the library. We found ourselves supporting the library.
Thank you. Thank you for that support. Counselor Semple.
Thank you. A big important day is coming up a week from tomorrow. Get your ballots in by 8 o'clock. So that's 8 days and almost 12 minutes. Please vote. It's important. And it's a way to be involved and a way for us to hear what's important to you. So participate, mark those ballots and get them in. Thank you.
Any other counselors with comments? I know the city manager has, but I'm gonna jump in one minute, because in addition to all of my other proclamations, I just want to announce that May 19th to 25th is also Emergency Medical Services Week. And the theme for this 50th anniversary is honoring our past, forging our future. And when we think about the challenges we're addressing as a city in terms of access to emergency services and the closure of the hotel, the hospital, this has particular resonance. So wanted to just acknowledge that as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager.
Mayor, I have 3 items. I'll keep it quick. The first one is really just a reminder. You received an email about this, but later this week on Wednesday, the LTD board is going to be considering a recommendation from staff to shift their locally preferred alternative on River Road from MX to an enhanced corridor. So that may come up in your emails in the news. And a reminder that this is largely due to increased costs and reduced ridership post-COVID. Later, before you go on your summer break, you're also going to have a work session about this and have an opportunity to talk about an enhanced corridor option, and to also consider keeping the walking and biking improvements that were part of the MX corridor. So you did receive a full memo about this, but I know that it's a busy time of the year, so I wanted to make sure you knew about it if you heard it on the news. Second thing, this is our last night in the LCC building in person. And so I just wanted to express gratitude to Lane Community College for being such a great partner while we've been here, and all the different things we've learned while we've been here. And lastly, and I know you've been handing out reminders at the door, but our June 10th meeting, when we're virtual, will probably be only a written comment, public comment period. I've been talking to the mayor about that. We'll update the website and all of that. And I know we've been handing out information because our worst case scenario is people show up and then can't comment. So on June 10th, it's likely written comments only.
Okay, thank you for all of that. And I think we're now ready to actually do the consent calendar.
Mayor, move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
Councilor Zelenka.
I'd like to pull the MWMC item.
Okay, so move to approve A and B on the consent calendar.
So amended, unless you need me to articulate it.
I think that's clear enough. No.
And so you'll vote on the consent agenda, and then Councilor Zelenka can then speak to the item that's right.
Great, thanks.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. And then I'll turn it over to Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, I sent in earlier a request for some more information about the MWNC renewable natural gas project that they do, where they use the waste gas coming off of the wastewater treatment plant to generate transportation fuel, actually. And I asked to have a little bit more data on the cost and the revenues and the net revenue and how cost effective it was and how much greenhouse gases it actually ends up reducing, because it's a substitute fuel that's a lot cleaner than gasoline and diesel. I wonder if, is there some staff to be able to address some of that stuff?
Michelle Miranda is covering this. She's our wastewater division manager and she's online. Thanks.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and councilors. I've also have a couple people from our team. James McClendon is on the line. He's our administration and finance manager. I also have Mark Van Eckhout, who is the senior civil engineer for Springfield and also was the project manager for the renewable natural gas project. And then Matt Stouter, the executive officer and general manager of MWMC. So they're also on the call, and you can join here if you want. We wanted to be able to answer any questions that you might have, that anybody might have.
Oh, sure. Could you run through? So my understanding of the project is that it is a project that that is not only a very good project for MWMC and all of us as ratepayers, but it actually has a financial net benefit as opposed to a cost to MWMC and to all of us ratepayers. And that it has been and will continue to be a significant reducer of greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm wondering if you could add a little bit more detail to that statement with some examples or some numbers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Matt Stouter, the Executive Officer for MWMC. And as Michelle mentioned, Mark, our project manager, can probably address that. I will say to Councilor Zelenka's point, we strategically, when we initiated this project several years ago, we strategically did so with rates in mind. We didn't incur any debt service or debt service obligations to fund this project. We used our wastewater reserve funding. And we were deliberate in making sure that we did not impact rate projections for the ratepayers in our community. That said, the project had a substantial cost. We are recouping revenue right now. We expect to have a project payback between 8 and 14 years, and Mark can provide detail if you're interested as to why the payback has that range. It depends on a number of factors. Once we pay the project back, we do have now and will have into the foreseeable future a stable source of revenue that will allow us to help offset future rate adjustments for our community. Mark, Mark or Michelle could probably better talk to the greenhouse gas numbers that you asked about.
Yeah, I could speak to the greenhouse gas numbers. So we did a greenhouse gas emissions report. We do one every other year for the wastewater division, and the Good Company helped us do that. And what they did is they calculated out the community, what they call the community benefit of adding the RNG to our operation, and they calculated 3,255 metric tons of CO2 equivalent as reduced from that. So that's in our greenhouse gas report from 2020, our latest greenhouse gas report that we did, which was for 2022 and 2023.
You want to add anything to that, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you letting me speak a little bit. I went back and looked, originally when we looked at the project, we had a number of options. And so we did net present values for the different options kind of moving forward. And ultimately we did a renewable natural gas project that has been up and operating now for, it'll be going on 3 years in November. producing renewable natural gas for the transportation industry, which is great. It was the first one in our state in a public utility, and still is improving. I think our uptime has improved drastically this year. We haven't gone back and recalculated the rate of return since we've been up and operating, and we can do that and look and see what that is. But like you said, it is a positive story, and we are, returning revenue back to the MWMC that will, ultimately pay off the capital costs and hopefully go to support things, from ongoing capital costs, et cetera, moving forward.
Yeah, I would like to see that the net present value or rate of return on a project, if it's positive, what that means is that a project, you are better off having done the project than not having done the project, all cost included and all revenue included. And this one actually has substantial positive revenues to it on a monthly basis. So it would be great to see that analysis. I pulled this in part because sometimes these good success stories like this don't get celebrated. They just get kind of slid under the consent calendar and nobody hears about them. And this is one of the success stories that we've had in the local community that not only helps stabilize rates in the future, creates revenue, but also reduces greenhouse gases. And so it's one of those win-win-win type of projects that we should be celebrating. And I just wanted to have an opportunity to talk about it and bring it to light.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions on that? So with that, I need a motion to approve item C on the consent calendar.
I move to approve item C on the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That takes care of that. Thank you very much. Approved unanimously. Okay, now we're on consent calendar 2. But turn this manager we're just gonna go for it. Okay. Okay. So, Council President?
I move to approve items on consent calendar 2.
Second.
Yes, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. My understanding was we separated our consent calendars so that those items that might be an annexation could be done at the other end of public comment and be able to hear public comment on annexation. Is it still our policy to do that? Because this is about the third time we've jumped one. I don't think we have. Do we have an annexation on there? I didn't see, but
2 of them.
We moved the public comment period to the end of the evening, and we talked about that as part of the operating agreements. One of the things we talked about is if somebody showed up that was here specifically to speak to that, we could discuss that, but so far that hasn't happened.
all right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
One more
would just
comment.
say that I think that's an incredibly valuable thing. And I don't know that we may not always hear that somebody writes at the front desk, that's what they're going to talk about, that may want to make a comment on whether or not they object to a particular annexation. And I just don't want to remove the opportunity for people to have a chance to speak if they disagree with an annexation. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The reason we did that was so people could speak to these things before.
More clearly, I hope.
And so nobody wrote on the sign-up sheet that this is their topic, but we don't know that that's true or not. Correct? Maybe we could poll the audience.
No, well, we have the city recorder maybe. Or staff can.
And I think it would be a good operating agreements.
Yeah, counselors, we kind of screen all of the ones as they're coming in. We ask them to give us a sense of the topics and nobody wrote that down. That doesn't mean that they couldn't want to speak to it, but they didn't indicate to us that they intended to speak to it.
Yeah, now they will.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So consent calendar 2 is on the table.
Just this once.
Yeah, Mayor, just if I could provide just some feedback or an observation before we dive in to my colleagues. I've long since advocated and this, I see this as an opportunity. I recognize and I appreciate staff's observations about no one signing up here to provide comment. But when we adopt consent calendars, I think government has a role to at least say what is on the consent calendar, so those who are listening in can absorb the information. I'm not going to let that hold us up right here in regards to these the approval of these resolutions annexing land. Nevertheless, I think in the future, as we move to our new city hall, it might be something worth exploring to at least bullet point what we're approving in said consent calendar for the audience listening at home, or if they may be tuning in person.
Could do that in your motion.
Okay. All right.
I want to set the stage for a future city hall conversation.
I think it's an operating agreement conversation, so let's not do that on the fly.
Right.
Okay.
Did I already move?
You already moved. It's already been seconded. So we just need to vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that passes unanimously. And then next item on the agenda, a resolution adopting a neighborhood recognition policy. And I will turn to the city manager on this one.
Yep, thank you so much. So after 2.5 years of a community engagement process, working directly with more than 150 neighborhood association board members, association members, and an advisory committee, staff are asking city council to replace the neighborhood organization recognition policy and adopt the new neighborhood organization recognition policy for a number of reasons. I'm just going to list 3 of them. It consolidates information that was previously duplicated in 9 different policy documents, aligns the recognition policy with state laws by removing mentions of refinement plans, allows flexibility for association board elections and membership, requires separation of the charter and bylaws, requires an equity statement, removes the maximum size of associations as 3 neighborhoods, and increases the minimum size from 300 residential addresses to 500 residential addresses. Additionally, it provides direction for a path for inactive neighborhood associations to join another association or call on staff to better support their efforts to become active. All comments and feedback offered by stakeholders were considered in the final document before council, except for the suggestion to move the procedure for reactivation of inactive neighborhood associations to a separate administrative document, mostly and in part because we're trying to consolidate all into one. And our amazing team that's been doing all this work is here if you have additional questions.
Okay. Thank you. Looks like we have a question. Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I will just say, it's not really a question. I will just say that I'll vote in favor of this, and that because I know all of the hard work that was done for so long. I did, however, hear from 2 different constituents about having some concerns about how, for lack of a better way to say it, persnickety we're getting on process in some of this part there with reactivation with a couple others. And so what I would really be disappointed to find is that one day, we have a bunch of folks that want to invigorate their neighborhood association and get things going, but staff is telling them, well, you can't until you cross this T and dot that I in just the exact way. That would be a very cranky opportunity for me. So I won't hold up the process and all that stuff, but I hope that our staff will be won't respond that way in any particular future where we have that concern. So thanks.
Did you want to speak to that in any way, or?
That certainly isn't our goal. Our goal is really to support the neighborhoods. We value, they're an integral part of our community engagement process. We really value those relationships and the neighborhood association. So getting persnickety over that level of detail is certainly not our goal. Our goal is to really support those neighborhood associations. We need them. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Groves and then Councilor Ye.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate speaking with both of you on this issue. Help me get better grounded. I have not heard any concerns from any of the neighborhood associations I work with, but I did receive a concern from a board member of another neighborhood association in a different ward. And what I got from this person was not that there were any concern of the substance. She just didn't feel it should be in the NORP. And I responded back that said, I'm not troubled by that. I like having all this information in one place. So I intend to vote in support of this. And but I just did want to share that piece.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ye.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to thank staff for doing this work. The neighborhood associations is the way I got connected with the city. Getting that first newsletter in my mailbox when I had just moved to Eugene, and my first thing was joining a bike committee, which did not last long and is fully unsuccessful, but it was my pathway into doing new and other things and other community service. And I think our neighborhood system it's hard. There's many of them, and they're all volunteer run, and we have limited staff. And so I know that's a huge lift to try to keep these things active and make sure they get what they want, but they're incredibly beneficial to our city. So I really appreciate you taking this long time to really dig in and listen to what people wanted and find ways to better support them. It's really exciting, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Well, with that, Councilor Semple.
Just want to say, I think neighborhood associations are critical. I hope that we will maintain funding for them with our budget challenges. I'm a little concerned about the minimum number of addresses. I would hate to have a group be really enthusiastic, but not have enough addresses. We don't have a scale for enthusiasm, so I guess we'll see how it goes. And if anyone is disappointed, they'll probably let us know. I appreciate the work, and I do hope that the associations that aren't active will become active and that this will help them do so. So long as voting next week, I really encourage you to go to your neighborhood association meetings. So thank you for this work.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. With that, if there are no other comments, ready for we haven't put it on the table yet.
I haven't put on the table. Counselor Semple just gave me a really good idea. Our neighborhood association in South Eugene, the Southeast Neighbors, are having their elections tomorrow. So if you live in Eugene's Ward 2, you may want to attend the Southeast Neighbors Neighborhood Association and participate in the process. That being said, move to approve a resolution adopting a neighborhood recognition policy and model charter, repealing resolution number 2554, resolution number 3745, resolution number 3746, resolution number 5140, and resolution number 5141, and amending resolution number 4705.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much for that very, very important work. I think it's a big improvement. So with that, I think we are actually ready for the public comment. So thank you all for your patience. The public comment period is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the city council on any city related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. And I think Cherish probably has the list ready for us.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 14 speakers this evening. I will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. When you are called to speak, please state your name and your ward or neighborhood if known before beginning your comments. If you are announced as the next speaker, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. Please leave any bags you may have with you at your seat. If you have documents to give council, please place them in the basket near the podium. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of the 2.5 minutes. Your microphone will be muted at the 2.5 minute mark. Please note that the use of profanity is prohibited, and any instances of profanity will result in immediate termination of speaking privileges. Our first speaker this evening is Jack Dodson, followed by Michael Kerrigan.
Thank you all for providing this opportunity for testimony. My name is Jack Dodson. I live in Ward 3 and I'm a student at the University of Oregon. I'm also an organizer with the UO Climate Justice League. For over 7 years, students have been strongly advocating for the University of Oregon to take action to transition our boiler system off of gas and onto renewable energy. We appreciate the Eugene Sustainability Commission's memo regarding this issue. Unfortunately, the university leadership has not acted on the recommendation of their own thermal task force or on the recommendation of the Eugene Sustainability Council. So we call on the city council to weigh in on this issue, recommending the university to begin its thermal transition now. While these emissions originate on campus, they impact all of Eugene. In fact, the boiler system is the single largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Eugene. Reducing these emissions would help Eugene meet the goals in its climate recovery ordinance, which includes the reduction of fossil fuel use in the city by 50% of 2010 values by 2030. There are a lot of UO students working to pressure the university to update its boiler system, but the university has been incredibly reluctant to act. So we would love as much off-campus support as we can get. Again, these greenhouse gas emissions from campus negatively affect everyone in Eugene. So if the city of Eugene itself pressured the university to reduce its emissions, it could make a huge difference. The students are already fighting for a better future. It's time for the adults in positions in power, like yourselves, to help out. I also urge the city council to move forward with one or more alternative pathways to electrify Eugene homes and buildings as quickly as possible. The unfortunate delays already caused by the misguided Berkeley ruling have prevented our community from benefiting from the climate, health, and economic benefits of electrification, and we must act now to meet our climate goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Our next speaker is Michael Kerrigan, followed by Stefan Streck.
My name is Michael Kerrigan. I'm a proud member of Ward 7. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I urge council to move forward as soon as possible with one or more pathways to electrify Eugene's homes and buildings. We've already experienced significant delays that have prevented our community from enjoying the benefits that come from electrification. I want a livable future for my 25-year-old daughter. I think she has earned the right to a future. So please take action as soon as you can. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you tonight.
Thank you, Michael. Our next speaker is Stefan Streck, followed by Adrienne Rizzo.
Appreciated. Thank you, City Council and people at home. My name is Stefan Streck, and I am on the ballot for Mayor of Eugene as Stefan Ace Dog Streck, just because that's what people always call me. So I'm not here to talk about me and how great I am. If people want to hear about that, they can go to celebrateeugene.com. There's a lot of great ideas on there, and one of them has to do with annexation. I believe if the city is going to annex additional land, we should have a freeze on the taxes within expanded areas. This lets the people that live there that might not be able to afford literally any extra expenses to stay in their homes. And then people who move into the area that want to buy that land, develop on it, and can afford to pay increased taxes also have that opportunity. Now, I came down here because I'm very concerned that the Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza has been targeted for some harassment and unnecessary nitpicking. That's really something I'm very disappointed by. The Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza is an integral part of Eugene and the Saturday market experience. And something that's really helped me become who I am today is seeing all those, fantastic local townspeople who have their personal wares and want to get in a drum circle and pass a feather around to see who gets to have a speaking opportunity. So I really hope that whoever is inspecting this area and, questioning the validity of these people, just takes a moment to appreciate that Eugene is a unique place, and we all would really it'd be remiss to lose that individuality that makes this city truly great. People don't move here because they want to just live in another cookie cutter big box city with tall sky rises that replace all the cute, unique local businesses. And the people who really claim to be building this city have really been taking away some of our most integral aspects. So please support the Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza, and you can learn more about the annexation and taxation policies that I advocate for at celebrateeugene.com. That's Stefan Ace Dog Strack.
Thank you, Stefan. Our next speaker this evening is Adrienne Rizzo, followed by Bill O'Brien.
Good evening, Mayor Venice, city councilors. My name is Adrienne Rizzo and I live in the county. I'm a student over at UO pursuing a degree in environmental science, and I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I wanted to start by saying thank you and acknowledging all of your efforts. Thank you for focusing on building electrification to set policy that phases out unhealthy and unsafe indoor air pollution. This is an area where cities are leading the way, and your leadership, despite setbacks, is extremely important for Oregonians' health, safety, and climate goals. And while I genuinely appreciate the climate mitigation and adaptation work of council and city staff, I worry that our progress locally and beyond is not at the scale and speed that we need. I don't think I have to explain the worsening climate impacts that have already begun. We can see it and feel it. And every day, more and more reports are coming out about how many countries and how many states and cities are not on track to meet their climate change mitigation goal. And just a couple of days ago, the city of Eugene reported that the drop in overall community greenhouse gas emissions lags far behind the 7.6 annual reduction target. I am worried that Eugene isn't doing enough to prevent some of these changes that are going to affect people's lives and livelihoods within the city, and that have the potential to completely change the landscape here. I worry that we could lose our iconic surroundings that help shape the way people identify as being a part of the Pacific Northwest, and also that draw tons of people to our beautiful city. I worry that if Eugene doesn't push harder to make positive changes, we will become not only unlivable, at least for those of us in lower tax brackets, but it'll also become unrecognizable. So what can we do? A recent RMI analysis on electrification in Eugene, and RMI is a great nonprofit research group on greenhouse gas emissions. It showed that transitioning a home to all electric would on average reduce the home's emissions by 70%. In our state, homes and buildings consume nearly 43% of all energy and cause about 1/3 of the state's climate pollution. And gas burned in furnaces, water heaters, stoves is 17% of all fossil fuel emissions if you count upstream. So what I'm asking for is for you all to bring back a legally defensible
Adrienne, your time has concluded. Our next speaker is Bill O'Brien, followed by Carolyn Partridge.
I left my house today, and they were talking about the psychiatric hospital up there in Salem and how people are getting sexually assaulted, most likely men and women. And, you know, they have cameras everywhere, but there's blind spots and there's lack of staffing, and it's probably a very difficult environment to work. But what bothered me today was I had a residential meeting in Homes for Good, and they haven't had one for a couple of months. And I said to acquaintances there, be prepared, you know, ask coaching questions. And so I said, Lindsay Leach is our city councilor, Ward 7, 510-712-7670, City of Eugene, call them up, whatever. So we had the meeting, and I'd have to say the staff does a pretty good job, you know. They have their masters of technology. They seem to have a heart. And they're probably understaffed as well. So what it came down to is people there at Homes for Good. Many are retirees, many are disabled, mentally, physically or mentally. But what happens is we're coalesced in the Skinners Butte neighborhood. When I speak to a police dispatcher, it's just not you. It's all over Eugene. People basically don't have their needs met, or something's wrong, you know, just in their environment or their mental continuum. So what happens in the summer months, we're going to have rotation of cars and vehicles and people in need will be coming in there. And There's no keeping track of who lives there, who doesn't live there, and they're trying to do it. But when I make a complaint to the police, I'm often told that I don't have any power to really kick someone out because that's management. And, you know, you can call 911. They may come very quick if there's a problem. But then again, that's a matter of perception because sometimes that problem doesn't really exist. It may be in your own head.
Thank you, Bill. Your time is concluded. Our next speaker is Carolyn Partridge, followed by Mila Vogelzang Liu.
Hello, Mayor Venus, City Council members, and City Manager Maderi. My name is Carolyn Partridge, and I live in Ward 2. I'm here to support the young people who are testifying tonight. I know their testimony won't fall on deaf ears, but I'm afraid it will be met with yes, but. Metaphorically speaking, their generation is arriving on Earth at the end of an extravagant all-you-can-eat buffet. There's little left to eat, and the mess is enormous. Our past prosperity has been based on extracting natural resources from the earth, especially fossil fuels. And as I know you know, burning fossil fuels has completely upended climate stability. Almost daily, we learn of another deadly weather disaster with far-reaching consequences. Back in 1957, Dr. Roger Revelle testified before a congressional subcommittee about the possible dangers of increasing carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. That was 67 years ago. No wonder young people are impatient, frustrated, and even angry. Their futures get bleaker with every ton of carbon dioxide created. We must transition off fossil fuels as quickly as possible. Yes, but is not going to save us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Our next speaker is Mila Vogelzang Liu, followed by Charlie Rojas.
Mayor Venus and City Council, thank you for providing this opportunity for testimony. My name is Mila Vogelzang Liu, and I'm a senior at South Eugene High School. Eugene's climate recovery ordinance was made in 2014 when I was 8 years old. Since then, I have experienced forest fires, droughts, heat waves, poor air quality, and ice storms, each occurring more and more frequently as I grew up. As a teenager, these events are scary and disheartening, making me fear for my future. It is undeniable that the climate crisis is upon us. That's why I was overjoyed when council leadership passed Oregon's first in-state electrification ordinance and voted to return to issue in summer 2024. I urge you to proceed with the electrification of Eugene homes and buildings as swiftly as possible. We do not have time to waste. Every year, the climate crisis is worsening, and we need to move quickly if we want to reduce our emissions by 50% by 2030. I also urge you to weigh in on the University of Oregon's thermal transition and to encourage them to transition to clean, renewable energy. The university is the biggest emitter in Eugene. These emissions affect all Eugenians, especially youth and future UO students like my peers. We cannot make a just transition without the university's involvement. To conclude, I ask on behalf of Eugene youth that you move forward with electrification in Eugene. My generation is already experiencing health problems, school closures, and dangers due to the climate crisis. We need to act. As youth, we look to you, our leaders, to make sure that we move towards a safe and sustainable future. I urge you to take swift action for the sake of me and my generation's future. Thank you for this opportunity for testimony.
Thank you, Mila. Our next speaker is Charlie Rojas, followed by David Eigel.
Charlie Rojas, Ward 7. Jennifer Ye, Matt Keating, Lucy Venus, Alan Zelenka, Emily Semple, and you, Lindsay Leach, have been the most vocal regarding the city's purported housing crisis. Y'all continue to give away 10-year property tax breaks to developers and institutional investors to incentivize construction of what you claim is badly needed housing. The multi-unit property tax exemption facilitated the creation of hundreds of thousands of square feet of commercial real estate. All of you should have plenty of evidence proving your claims taxpayer subsidies lowered rents. So where is it? Well, we now have the rent schedule for the latest MUPT tax giveaway scheme. Here it is. The one located at 1059 Willamette Street. Full disclosure. Barbie Walker, your opponent, Lindsay Leach, for Ward 7 council seat, researched and found the rent schedule. She did more of a public service than any of you, including you, Lindsay, have done regarding affordable housing. Thanks, Barbie. You've done the job while others mentioned have failed. Focusing exclusively on studios, which range from 352 to 477 square feet, the rent is approximately $1,000 a month. The Oregon Center for Public Policy issued a report on August 7, 2020, showing that 1 in 3 single mothers in Oregon live in poverty. For Black, Latina, and pay special attention, Lucy Venice, Native American single moms, that figure is 1 in 2. Lindsay, Lucy, Matt, Emily, Jennifer, Alan, explain to those single moms, many of which are working, that a studio 352 square feet at $1,000 a month is affordable. Explain why city services which would benefit poor mothers are going to be cut because of the deficit created by MUPTI. 1059 Willamette Street is also a HUD Section 3 subsidized project, meaning the feds have to get involved in this boondoggle as well. Barbie Walker, while speaking with the local 290, the Steamfitters and Plumbers Union, found that developers use out-of-state workers in order to not pay prevailing union wages for the same projects you rubber stamp property tax breaks. Do none of you realize many of those union workers pay property taxes and are forced to fund the wages of out-of-state workers? You talk a lot and say nothing. Rectify that. Explain how any of your policies have done anything to lower rents or make Eugene prosperous.
Thank you, Charlie. Our next speakers are David Eigel, followed by Joshua Korn.
Good evening. Professor Frederick Dunn was the faculty sponsor of the YMCA on the U of O campus and was active in its activities. During the 1920s, the Y on campus provided extensive support to all students. The U of O Y Hut building served as a student union. Many activities were scheduled there. In July 1920, Father Edwin O'Hara, for whom O'Hara Catholic School was later named, was transferred from Portland to Eugene so he could establish a Newman Center next to the U of O campus. There was already a Newman Club at the U of O, but no Newman Center building. An extensive series of courses related to applying religion to social issues began at the Y Hut in September 1920. The series was intended to be non-denominational and to offend no sect. 3 religious leaders were included in the program, a priest, a rabbi, and a minister. Father O'Hara was recruited to teach the course in Christian ethics. In addition, Father O'Hara was among a group of 5 prominent men who lectured on industrial policy at the Y Hut, and the Y Hut was made available to him so he could have meetings with students. Sadly, the U of O President's office is claiming that their office has incontrovertible evidence that Dunn was the Eugene Exalted Cyclops and anti-Catholic. After repeated requests, they have been unable to state what this evidence is or who within their office is making this assertion. Their latest emails didn't even identify the sender. As my most recent communication with you has documented, the U of O Dunn report is fraudulent as well as incompetent and an embarrassment. I'm asking that you contact the U of O president to ask for the factual basis for these assertions. I will happily provide you this week with suggestions, questions to ask. I can assure you that the only incontrovertible evidence they will offer will be of their own embarrassment. We can then act to restore the outstanding reputation of one of Eugene's finest citizens who was dearly beloved by those who knew him. The electoral choice no longer includes Semple. Emily, thank you for your service.
Thank you, David. Our next speakers are Joshua Korn, followed by Logan Page.
I want to speak to a part of this whole push for electrification that I believe is being overlooked, and it's a major red flag in my view, and that's the smart meters. And I also want to speak to the corruption that's going on currently right now at eWeb. And eWeb has been now threatening eWeb customers. We have no choice. We have to go with eWeb in the city of Eugene for our power. Yet they're they seem to have an agenda to force now these smart meters on everyone's home. These things transmit dangerous radiation. That there's a lot of problems. They act as surveillance devices, part of the new push for surveillance capitalism in this country, and they're also dangerous to our health. And this has been well proven that the FCC guidelines on radiation are inadequate, ruling many years ago that set aside the standards on radiation. I'm going to put this flyer in so you can review it. But currently it's been brought to my attention that the policy of eWeb is not only requiring these dangerous so-called smart meters in order to have service with them, but also neglecting liability. They are refusing to take liability for the installation of these meters. And there's already local reporting from Eugene residents that right after the installation of these meters, oven stops working, refrigerators stop working, computers fail. And this is happening right after the installation of these meters, and yet eWeb is refusing to take liability. And I'm telling you right now that I'm urging you to now start a process of revoking eWeb's charter because of corruption in this particular situation. And this is serious. And yet,
thank you, Joshua. Your time is concluded. Our next speaker this evening is Logan Page, followed by Cecilia Luzzi.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for time to speak. My name is Logan Page. I live in Ward 2, and I'm a physicist and graduate student at the University of Oregon. I'm proud to be a part of this community, and I do appreciate the focus that the City Council has given so far to electrification. As lots of people have spoken on tonight, it is one of the most important issues that we can act on right now. In the 1950s, medical evidence suggested that smoking caused lung cancer, but tobacco companies denied this fact until 1998. In over 40 years, countless lives were lost due to their lives. They used the same marketing ploys, though, that the fossil fuel industry uses today. If I told you today that smoking 3 cigarettes a day would improve your health, you wouldn't believe me. Then why would you believe it when someone tells you that natural gas is clean and sustainable energy? We know the harmful effects methane and carbon dioxide have on our environments and our individual health. We've known this for decades, but we've been tricked into inaction by clever marketing. We can't let the fossil fuel industry delay this action any longer. As our City Council representatives, I urge you to represent your constituents' best interests by continuing to push forward with electrification and renewable energy as quickly as possible. For several years, students at the University of Oregon, as you've already heard from another commenter, we've been advocating for the university to transition off of gas and onto clean renewable energy. But the university has largely chosen to ignore us. I'm grateful to the committee and the City Council for the memo that they've written regarding this issue already. But due to the continued inaction of university leadership on this issue, I'd urge you to continue to weigh in, to apply whatever pressure you can to recommend that the university begins this transition now. I appreciate your attention to this issue and your time to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Logan. Our next speaker is Cecilia Luzzi, followed by Alan Alfredo Gormazano.
Good evening, Mayor Vinnis and City Councilors. My name is Cecilia Luzzi, and I live in the county. I'm the Communications Coordinator for 350 Eugene, and I support strong local policy to phase out the use of planet heating fuels, especially fossil gas. As a young person, I'm concerned about the use of fossil fuels for many reasons. We all know that greenhouse gas emissions contribute to more extremes in weather. Last summer was the hottest on record, according to NASA. As a result of the fossil fuel industry continuing to dispose of its waste into our atmosphere, creating a blanket of heat that is dangerously heating the earth. As a gardener, I see the effects of this on my plants. Water scarcity and extreme heat make what is not only a hobby but a way for me to feed my family extremely hard. It makes me worry not only for my garden, but about bigger scale food insecurity, which will lead to higher prices on food I already struggle to afford as someone living paycheck to paycheck. The science is telling us we have 2 to 3 years, at most the end of this decade, to reach a 50% reduction in our fossil fuel use to avoid irreversible tipping points. I'm glad our city has a solid climate action plan, but we are far from our goals, and we can and should act quickly. You don't have unlimited power, but you do have significant avenues to improve health and safety through land use and safety regulations. As the health harms of fossil fuels have been reported, we see that gas appliances, and especially gas stoves, release harmful pollutants like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and known carcinogens. This is something you have the power to impact by passing policy that mandates new residences source their energy from clean electricity. This will help meet our climate goals, making our indoor air safer. I am asking you to demonstrate your resolve and take urgent action. Please act with courage and creativity. Explore pathways such as restricting new gas piping in the city's right-of-way, regulating outdoor NOx emissions, and taxing carbon pollution. I urge you to take swift action to protect our climate and public health. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Our next speaker is Alfredo Gormazano, followed by our final speaker, Janet Ayers.
Hello, Alan Alfredo Gormazano, Ward 1. And I'm here to speak about eWeb also. And electrification. Oh my God, we're going to give them even more power over us. We need to break this monopoly of eWeb because they are walking all over the customers' concerns. I know 2 people who already had their power shut off because of the refusal to take the smart meters. These things are not safe. In order to get the power turned back on, they had to pay $250 each, $500 in quick money for eWeb. Extortion is what I call it. We need EPUD allows their customers a choice. Why do we not have a choice in this city? There are many people who are very, very sensitive to electromagnetic fields. I call them the canaries in the mine. When I spoke at eWeb meetings last time, I said, you know, miners did not need studies or scientific proof or online research to prove that canaries would keel over and pass out before humans would. There are people in this community that are going to keel over and pass out before the rest of us maybe will do. It's not healthy. Even with the radio frequency turned off on the smart meters, it puts something through your house called dirty electricity. I highly recommend look it up online. I found all kinds of wonderful things that it does to your body. It creates spikes of electricity to go through your house. It heats up your wires with microwaves. It can destroy old wiring in houses. Also, we have this possibility of appliances getting destroyed with a surge once these smart meters are put in. eWeb needs to be reeled in. I am now referring to them as the Extortionist Water and Electro-Terrorist Board. We need to do something about this. And also, we need actual affordable housing in this town, not market rate housing, which just drives the prices up. I was in Hawaii for almost 7 years. I came back to Eugene where the rents were almost as high as Hawaii. Come on. It's easier to make a living in Hawaii than it is here. I've never been able to make a living here in Eugene very well. So thank you very much. Please address this with eWeb. We need competition for them. We need an electrical company that will listen, not just listen, but act on what the customers need. Thank you so much. Oh, and
thank you, Alfredo. Your time is concluded. Our next and final speaker is Janet Ayers.
Good evening, Council. Janet Ayers, Ward 7. I have 2 topics. I wasn't too sure, Mr. Zelenka, the folks that you had, I had more questions than answers. I don't really understand that piece. I'm hoping to call city office tomorrow and get a little more informed, or perhaps they can offer a separate meeting to fill us in on that. Mr. Keating, yes, I have had the opportunity of late many times to speak with Travis Knutson, and I concur. Excellent choice, and I'm happy to have him be the lead at that site. He's established with me his keen intelligence and ability to communicate to the public. And I'd like to encourage the council, because Lucy had talked with you in December about a semi-sized diesel generator being used at a well-known female drug treatment center here in Eugene. Diesel without any EMF emission, DEF, diesel emission fluid. I think Mr. Groves knows about DEF in diesel engines, kind of cleans it up a little. I'm still experiencing the smell, and if we're on the bandwagon to clean the air, let's start first with diesel. Let's start there and make sure those that do have diesel engines, that at least they're applying something to deter the emissions that come out of that. My second point, thank you, is the Whitaker. I consider Washington Jefferson and the Chambers Connector kind of the unnamed gateway and entry, departure route and entryway into my neighborhood, Ward 7, Whitaker. I'd like the city to focus and use proactive, not reactive, policies in cleaning up the rail tracks. I'd like to see a handshake deal done with the rail authorities. Used to be rail yards were sovereign. You didn't dare put a foot on a rail there. The rail police would be all over you. Where are they? They have one.
Thank you, Janet. Your time is concluded. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you who came to testify this evening on quite a range of topics. So I'm opening the floor. Are there counselors who have comments or questions to make on anything they heard tonight?
Councilor Groves.
Councilor Groves.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody who testified tonight in responding to the last question regarding the rail lines. I agree, that is a problem. I actually had a meeting with staff last week trying to find what we can do about it. I've got the same problem in my ward. It seems to be the new gathering point, and lots of problems are happening right on the rail lines that are affecting surrounding homes and businesses as you go further west. But it's a difficult situation because who regulates the rail lines is the federal government. That's so every time they cross the state line with a train, they are not subjected to a different set of rules. But there's got to be a pathway forward on this, and I'm certainly not going to give up on it. The squalor and the mess that's developing is just terrible, and I know that that's having an adverse effect on you, Janet, in your area, and the people down there, as it is in residents and mostly commercial industrial in my area where the rail lines run. So that's not lost on us. And I agree. We need to find a path. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Keating.
Thanks, Mayor. Earlier this year, I was saddened to learn of yet more delays regarding the University of Oregon's potential hopeful transition toward clean energy. And a handful of us have signed on in support of electrification and transition, or encouraging the university to transition off their boiler system to a clean, renewable electricity that benefits not just our climate, but will improve the health and air quality of our entire community. So as Eugene, Oregon continues to work toward meeting our critically important climate goals, pretty clear to me that we need institutions of higher education across the state and across the nation to take bold action and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So I thank you for joining us and advocating appropriately. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? All right, I just want to close by thank you again. Thank you, the climate folks, for showing up again and keeping us on task and moving forward. And thank you to all of you with your other questions. And with that, we are adjourned.